The Ferris wheel spun slow above the Nebraska sky, its lights glittering like a crown in the dark. Crowds laughed, music blared, but behind the ring-toss booth, a hidden lane waited. A 17-year-old boy stepped inside, his varsity jacket catching on a nail, a single green thread left fluttering in the night air. Minutes later, the crowd kept moving, rides kept turning. But he was gone. And for 2 decades, an entire town lived with one question. What happened in that shadowed lane? The kettlecorn haze hangs low over the Prairie Sky Fairgrounds. Generators thrum, the starlight wheel blinks red, blue, white against a clear September sky. Evan Mercer checks his watch. It reads 9:47 p.m. He squeezes Lena Hart's fingers and lets go, apologizing with a quick smile. "I'll be 5 minutes," he says. "Coach Alvarez. Scrimmage time. Then churros." Lena nods. She tucks a loose strand behind her ear. Her eyes follow the varsity jacket green sleeves, white M until the crowd swallows him. Music from the tilt-a-whirl stutters like a heartbeat. A barker shouts over the pop of BB guns at the duck gallery. Evan angles past the caramel apple stand. He sidesteps a stroller, bumps a trash barrel, says sorry without turning. He scans for the white ball cap Coach favors on late nights. No cap. Only a scatter of faces under tent lights. He feels his phone vibrate once. A text from Lena. "Hurry." Ferris wheel line is short. He types a quick reply, 2 minds, and pockets the phone. The message never sends. His service drifts to 1 bar, then none. To his right, the livestock shed fans out a warm, grassy smell. To his left, Gate C yawns dark to the gravel lots. A man in a vendor badge crosses his path. Food tickets. The man asks no one in particular. Evan shakes his head and slips along the rear row of game booths. A string of bulbs crackles overhead. One fizzles out and smokes. There's a narrow service lane behind the ring toss. It's half hidden by a tarp and a leaning stack of hay bales. He chooses the shortcut without thinking. It's faster, quieter, away from elbows and laughter. The ground back there is different packed clay and crushed corn husks. A diesel cough, closer now, presses against the night. He hears 2 voices ahead. They are close, male, low, and irritated. "Not here." One says, "Too many eyes. Just a minute." The other answers. Then we're square. Evan freezes. He doesn't want to be noticed. He backs up 1 step, then another. His sneaker scrapes grit. The voices stop. "Hey," someone calls. "You lost." He turns toward the light of the midway. He doesn't run, not yet. He walks fast, shoulder-scraping tarp. Until the lane widens, a pair of teenagers push past him, laughing, soda sloshing. Their sugar and cinnamon scent rides the air like a flag. Evan pivots into the main artery of the fair. Lights flood his eyes. The noise washes over him. He exhales. He keeps moving. Across the grounds, Lena checks the time again. 9:56 p.m. Her palms are damp. The line for the wheel shrinks. She steps aside and texts again. The bubble hangs unsent. A single bar, then none. She decides to meet him halfway. She leaves the line and slides into the stream of people. A siren wails faintly from town. Nobody looks up. The music swallows it. At the dunk tank, a kid hurls a baseball and misses. The laughing man on the seat kicks his heels and heckles. Lena spots Coach Alvarez near the kettlecorn stand. White cap, folded arms, watching the flow. "Coach, have you seen Evan?" she asks. Alvarez squints at her, then at the crowd. 10 minutes ago, he says. Said he'd be right back. He pivots toward Gate C like he's counting shadows. Where'd he go? Cut behind the ring toss. Alvarez says, shortcut. Lena thanks him and follows the direction of his chin. She moves faster now, shouldering through. Behind the ring toss, the tarp hangs crooked. A breeze lifts one corner. Inside is only dark. She calls Evan's name once. Then again, her voice sounds paper-thin against the generator hum. A fair worker with a broom pauses. He frowns at the service lane. Back areas for staff, he says. You can't. My boyfriend went this way, she says. 2 minutes ago, the worker hesitates. He lifts the tarp and peers down the lane. It's empty. Just tire tracks and a scatter of straw. A small green thread catches on a nail at shoulder height. Lena doesn't see the thread. She sees the tire gouge that veers toward Gate C. She texts again out of habit. The bubble floats, stalls, vanishes. It's 4 p.m. now. The fair's closing announcements crackle over the PA. "Thank you for visiting Prairie Sky," the voice says. "Please begin heading to the exits. See you tomorrow." Lena returns to the Ferris wheel, hoping he's not there. She returns to the tilt-a-whirl, scanning faces. Not there. She checks the churro stand, the BB gallery, the photo booth. Not there. Her breath shortens. Her fingers shake. She dials his number. It rings once, then breaks into static. A patrol unit rolls past the outer fence. Slow and easy. Deputy Nora Kent drives. Window cracked. Listening. A call pings in from dispatch. Noise complaint at the north lots. Nothing urgent. She circles the gravel rows. Headlights fanning dust. Couples argue softly. Tailgates slam. Engines turn over. Near the far corner, something glints in her lights. It's small, pale, and out of place. She stops and steps out. Pebbles crunch under her boots. It's a half ticket, damp with dew, torn diagonally, stamped red, Sterlite wheel. She pockets the stub to toss later. She doesn't know it matters yet. Back inside, Lena finds Coach again. Her words pile up and trip. 20 minutes, Alvarez says, checking his watch. He scans the thinning crowd. "Stay by the main gate." He tells her, "If he's looking, he'll find you." She nods, but doesn't move. A breeze lifts dust from the midway. The lights seem brighter as people thin out. Near the petting zoo, a radio scratches in a worker's vest. "Gate C is clear," a voice says. Vendors rolling out. A squat box truck shudders through the service lane. Its tail lights smear red along the fence. The tarp flaps once, then falls still. The lane is empty again. Lena heads for the information tent. Her voice is steadier than she feels. "Can you call his name over the speakers?" she asks. The volunteer winces. "We don't do pages unless it's a child." "He's 17. "I'm sorry." A silence opens just wide enough for panic. She fills it with motion. She retraces the path to the churros. She retraces the path to the wheel. At 10:22 p.m., the starlight slows to a stop. Gondola's empty. The operator locks the gate. Lena waits anyway. She watches every face pass. Near the gravel exit, Deputy Kent pauses again. There's a boot print in a crescent of damp soil. It's deeper on the toe, lighter on the heel. The stride is short, like someone turned fast. She draws a quick outline with her pen. She doesn't cast it yet. She keeps moving. Closing time settles over the grounds like a thin sheet. Games shutter. Lights click off in rows. Lena returns to the information tent, jaw set. "Then call the sheriff," she says. "Please." The volunteer nods. Her hand finally reaches for the phone. 2 rows over, a small item lies by a trash barrel. It is a phone charm plastic star, split clean at the loop. Lena doesn't see it. Nobody sees it yet. The fair empties to a hush that isn't quiet. It's the hush of generators cooling and gravel whispering under tires. Deputy Kent parks by the admin trailer. She steps out into air that already smells like tomorrow. A boy hasn't come back from his girlfriend. The call says, "Fairgrounds." Last seen in a green sleeve jacket. Kent looks at the dark mouth of the service lane. She looks at gate C, then back at the lane. She clicks on her flashlight. She lifts the tarp and steps into the narrow seam of night. A moth flickers in the beam and disappears. Dust floats like stars. Halfway down, she kneels. There's a torn churro wrapper ground into the clay. She bags it. She notes the tire tracks, chevrons, not street tread, shallow and fresh. At the end of the lane, the fence shows a fresh scuff. High, shoulder height. A thread clings to the wire. She reaches for it with tweezers. It's green, thin, synthetic, frayed at one end. She seals it and writes the time. 10:41 p.m. Her pen scratches louder than the generators now. Behind her, the last of the rides goes dark. The starlight wheel turns to a black outline against the sky. Lena stands by the main gate as requested. Her eyes sting. Her phone stays silent. She imagines Evan jogging up, apologizing, laughing. She waits long enough for that picture to fade. Deputy Kent closes her notebook. She makes a quiet call to dispatch. "Start a missing juvenile," she says. "Prairie Sky Fairgrounds. Stonefield. Name's Evan Mercer." The fair is over. The night is not. Morning fog settled low across Stonefield. The fairgrounds looked ordinary again. Empty rides, trash bags piled at the exits. But one absence turned routine silence into alarm. By noon, Evan Mercer's face was stapled to telephone poles, school photos, varsity jacket, 17 years in one square. Parents clutched copies, voices cracking as they spoke to deputies. Deputy Nora Kent stood on the courthouse steps with a microphone. Her words were calm, but the edges betrayed strain. Last seen between 9:45 and 10:15. Anyone with information, call immediately. Calls flooded in. Some swore they'd seen Evan near the livestock barn. Others claimed he was at the dart booth laughing with friends. Confusion grew. Each tip bent the timeline, then snapped it again. The case became a puzzle where pieces refused to lock. Lena Hart sat on her porch, blanket wrapped tight. She repeated every detail she could remember. Each retelling felt thinner, less certain, like fog burning away. The sheriff's office logged every scrap, a red board filled with notes, arrows, pins. The word Mercer glared from the center like a warning. Search parties combed fields past Gate C. Dogs tugged hard at leashes. Noses loaded tire ruts. They barked once, then lost the trail at the county road. Neighbors left porch lights burning all night. Pickup trucks lined ditches with headlights on high. Children whispered about monsters at the fair. A carnival worker named Doyle was pulled aside. He had a record trespass, minor theft, nothing heavy. Still, whispers sharpened around his name. Kent interviewed him in a cramped office. Doyle smoked through 3 cigarettes, hands steady. "I never saw that kid," he insisted. "I was breaking down the tilt ride." His alibi matched another worker's account. Yet suspicion clung like dust. Every eye at the diner turned when he walked in. Days stretched into weeks. Stonefield High left Evan's locker untouched. Varsity jacket photo taped to the door. Teachers faltered mid-lesson when his empty desk echoed back. A month later, a farmer found a charm bracelet snagged on barbed wire. It was cataloged, bagged, tested. Result: not Evans. Another dead end. The Hart family moved away. Lena stayed behind, finishing senior year under stairs. Some pitied her. Others wondered aloud if she knew more. Kent's notes piled higher. She circled oddities' boot print depth. Churro wrapper brand not sold at Gate C. Truck tire chevrons unfamiliar. Patterns emerged, then dissolved like watermarks. 3 months in, a boy in Omaha was mistaken for Evan. A photo circulated, same jawline, same hair. It collapsed when fingerprints came back. The town sighed heavy. Stonefield turned brittle. Every parent gripped their child tighter at dusk. The fair's return the next year drew fewer families. More deputies. Kent refused to shelve the case. She worked overtime in silence, eyes red from scanning reports. Her supervisor warned her, "You're burning daylight on ghosts." But she persisted. She filed for fair vendor rosters, driver manifests, trailer licenses. Names ran long, but one caught her eye. A vendor listed under a false address. Mail bounced back. Phone disconnected. The paper trail ended before it began. She marked it with a red star, but the lead slipped like sand through her grasp. By winter, snow buried the fairgrounds in white silence. Years began to pass. 2001. 2004, 2007. Evan's smile still stared from fading posters. Each anniversary. Candles flickered in front of the high school. Rumors grew roots. Some said Evan ran away. Others whispered he'd been taken by traveling workers who never looked back. Lena left for college. Her last night in Stonefield, she walked Gate C one final time. She pressed her palm to the fence and whispered goodbye. Deputy Kent stayed. She was promoted to detective, her badge heavier with each year. Still, she carried Evan's file in her desk drawer. In 2009, a self-storage locker in Lincoln went to auction. The buyer found a box marked with faded initials. Inside, a baseball program, a ticket stub, and a key tag. The program listed Stonefield High's scrimmage. The stub was Prairie Sky's Ferris wheel, half torn. The key tag was strange. Brass, stamped with the number 12. Kent drove out herself. She turned the tag over and over, frowning at the wear. It didn't fit any local school or hotel she knew. Experts tested fingerprints. Smudged, partial, inconclusive. Still, it was more than she'd had in years. The town perked up. Whispers lit again. They're close. It's finally breaking. Hope flared, fragile as matchlight. Yet the trail bent back to dust. The storage unit renter vanished on record. Mail returned, like the vendor years before. Kent added both names to the same folder. She highlighted the pattern. Appearances that evaporated after one season. Her gut told her the fair itself was the bridge. By then, Stonefield had changed. New stores, new roads. But the fairgrounds still rose each September. Bright rides against the same dark cornfields. Parents warned their kids, never wander alone. Stay where the lights are. Remember Evan Mercer. Each year, Kent walked the service lanes after closing. She carried a flashlight and quiet questions. No answers came back. She mapped every booth's power cord, every exit lane, every gate padlock. She compared blueprints from '99 to present. One service lane stayed unmarked, built ad hoc, never on maps. It matched the path Evan had taken. Her notes underlined it twice. Unregulated access. Truck route, a gap where oversight had failed. Still, she lacked the missing hinge, something physical to connect lane, truck, and boy, without it. Her file stayed evidence of shadows. In town, memory hardened into scar tissue. Evan's parents moved states. Only Lena returned on holidays, leaving flowers at the fence. 20 years nearly passed. Then highway workers cut deep along County 27. Their backhoe claw struck something metal, a toolbox, rusted and sealed. Inside lay objects that would wrench Stonefield awake. But that belonged to another chapter, the break in the dust. The backhoe jolted to a stop. Metal screeched against metal. Workers froze, dust pluming in the air. County 27 had been quiet that morning, just road crews, orange vests, and the drone of engines. Now everyone crowded the trench. Staring down, half buried in clay, sat a toolbox. Steel corroded, latch fused with rust. Foreman radioed for deputies before anyone touched it. Detective Nora Kent arrived first. She crouched in the dirt, gloves snapping on. Her flashlight beam cut across the lid. With a crowbar, they pried it open. Inside lay a crumbling watch face, glass cracked. Next to it, the brass key tag marked 12. At the bottom, a torn ledger page. Faded lines, smeared ink. But one entry visible, rental stall. Prairie Sky Fair, Unit C12. Kent's pulse thudded. She bagged each item carefully, numbers etched into evidence tags. The box smelled of damp earth and oil. News spread before sunset. Evidence tied to missing boy uncovered near highway. Headlines dragged Stonefield back into 20-year grief. Lena Hart read the story online. Her chest clenched at the photo of the watch face. She remembered Evan tapping it under carnival lights. The sheriff's office reopened the Mercer file. Conference tables groaned under stacks of old reports. Young deputies, not even born in 1999, leaned in. Kent laid the toolbox items in rows. Ledger page, links to fair. Unit C12, she explained. Key tag matches. Who held that stall? They dug into county archives, old vendor rosters, faded receipts. A name emerged. Richard Hale, supplier of generators. Hale had left Stonefield the fall after Evan vanished. No forwarding address, no bank trace, only a thin paper trail across state lines. Detectives tracked him through tax filings. He'd resurfaced briefly in Kansas under another alias, then gone again. As if smoke, Kent turned to surveillance tapes stored in vaults. Most were degraded, warped lines crawling across screens. But one reel from the Ferris wheel remained intact. Frame by frame, she slowed it down. At 10:03 p.m., a figure crossed the background. Varsity jacket, green sleeves, white M, heading to gate C. Her gut twisted. The stride was off shorter, broader than Evan's. The arm swing too heavy, she froze the frame. The face blurred, shadow cutting across. But the body build whispered different. She pinned stills to the board, side by side with Evan's school photo. The difference grew louder the longer one stared. Deputies murmured, "If that's not him," one said. "Then who wore it?" Kent underlined the question in black marker. They checked who last borrowed his jacket. Records showed a teammate, Darren Colt, had worn it earlier that week. Practice photos confirmed. Same size, same fit. Kent visited Colt, now in his 30s. He opened the door in a mechanic's shirt, grease on his hands. His eyes narrowed at the mention of Evan. "Yeah, I borrowed it. Friday practice. Gave it back Monday. Anyone else asked to use it?" Kent pressed. Colt shrugged. Half the team wanted one. It was status, but his tone cracked when shown the tape still. "That's not me," he muttered. "I wasn't even there Saturday night." His alibi checked out diner shift logged till midnight. Yet the jacket trail unraveled. Whoever wore it wasn't Evan, and wasn't Colt. Kent replayed the tape again. The figure walked through the service gate. Behind him, faint, a box truck's outline. The truck was critical, not passenger cars. This was vendor size. Chevron's entire pattern matched notes from 1999. The board in Kent's office shifted shape. Threads connected jacket, truck, toolbox, Unit C12. Names of vendors from that year crowded the margins. Patterns sharpened. Hale's stall number aligned with the ledger page. Truck size matched his generator hauls. Still, it wasn't proof. Kent needed direct tie soil. Print, DNA. Otherwise, it would collapse in court. She sent the watch face for microtrace. Lab techs scraped the grooves under magnification. Specks of corn husk and old fuel residue appeared. Soil analysis compared trench dirt with gate C lanes. The match struck like a hammer. Same clay composition. Same fertilizer trace from Peterson's farm. Evidence thickened, but the story still crooked. Why lure Evan? Why that lane? And why bury the toolbox 10 miles out? Meanwhile, Lena faced reporters at her doorstep. They asked if the watch was his, if she remembered it. She bit her lip and nodded once. Her words reached trembling families across town. They remembered holding their kids tighter that fall. The fair's music now carried a shadow. Kent pressed further. She mapped Hale's movements after 1999. Receipts placed him in 3 states during fairs. She found a pattern. Each year, a missing person report flared near his roots. Not all teenagers. A drifter. A vendor. A runaway. Her chest went cold. What if Evan wasn't the first? Or the last? She pulled in federal help quietly. Analysts scoured cross-state records, overlaying fair maps. Hale's name floated in margins again and again. Then came the twist. One vendor log listed him as assistant. The primary license, Coach Alvarez, head of football. The revelation hit like thunder. Had the coach known Hale? Partnered with him? Or had someone borrowed his name? Kent re-examined Alvarez's statements. He'd claimed to see Evan 10 minutes before 10, but the tape showed the figure at 10:03 near Gate C. Timelines bent dangerously close. Could Alvarez have covered a gap, or been tricked with forged rosters? She confronted him in his office. Alvarez leaned back, lips thin. I filed paperwork for extra power. Nothing more. He helped with cables, but why him? Kent pushed. Cheap. Available. No questions. Alvarez said. That's all I know. Yet unease lingered. Alvarez had steered Lena toward the ring toss lane, right where the service path began. Kent added his name underlined red, not a suspect yet, but as a hinge where timelines met. By late autumn, evidence converged. The toolbox artifacts, the tape, the soil, all arrows pointed at Hale. A warrant went out. Deputies spread across counties. Searching storage, old addresses. They found fragments, receipts, false IDs, fuel logs. Still, Hale stayed invisible. No recent photo, no digital trail, like a ghost slipping through circuits. The case strained Stonefield again. Parents demanded answers at town halls. You had 20 years, what's left to prove. Kent held her ground. We have the bones of truth. We need the marrow. Her voice was low but sharp. That winter, the fairgrounds stood dark. No rides, no music, only snowdrifts against fences. Gate C loomed silent, wind whining through wire. Kent walked the lane alone. Her flashlight swept the ground where Evan last stepped. She whispered, "We're close." And for the first time in decades, she believed it. The dust was breaking. Spring settled over Stonefield. The fairgrounds lay empty, but the case pulsed hot. Detective Nora Kent carried the file like a second skin. A break arrived from an unexpected corner. Bank archives released ATM logs from September 1999. One withdrawal stood out 10 a.m., 28 p.m. 2 miles from Gate C. The camera frame caught more than numbers. It showed a truck idling in the background. Boxy, faded white, bumper dented left side. Kent zoomed in. The Chevron tires were clear. Same pattern as her notes. A blurred figure stood at the machine, shoulders hunched. Forensics enhanced the image. The jacket wasn't varsity green. It was coveralls streaked with oil. A name printed on the chest pocket. Hale Power. The alias looped back to Richard Hale. The circle tightened. Deputies fanned out again. This time, a tip came from Missouri. A landlord recalled a tenant matching Hale's build. They searched the unit. Inside, folded fare maps, receipts, and a Polaroid. The photo showed a stall numbered C12. In the corner of the frame stood a young man, not Evan. Another face, weary, blurred, unclaimed. Kent pinned it on the board. Patterns no longer looked random. They formed a chain spanning 2 decades. Soil trace tied the toolbox to Gate C. The ATM timestamp placed Hale minutes after Evan vanished, and the ledger page confirmed Hale's stall. A judge signed the warrant. Marshals tracked Hale to a rental outside Wichita. They moved at dawn. The man was older now, hair gray, beard wild, but the eyes matched the photo from long ago. When cuffed, Hale barely spoke. Back in Stonefield, news spread like fire. Arrest in Mercer case after 20 years. Cameras swarmed courthouse steps, families clutching photos. Lena Hart flew back for the hearing. She sat in the second row, hands trembling in her lap. Her eyes never left Hale's profile. The prosecutor laid out evidence. Toolbox, soil, tape, ATM, ledger, each link stacked tight, building a lattice of guilt. But the twist waited in the details. Why Evan? Why that night? The motive had to hold. Witnesses took the stand. A former carney admitted Hale owed him money. He said Hale talked of getting even with the coach. Kent leaned forward. The coach Alvarez surfaced again in whispers. Grudge lines blurred between fair and field. Then a new witness spoke. A vendor remembered a fight behind the generator tent. Evan had stepped between Hale and Alvarez earlier that evening. The pieces clicked. Evan wasn't random. He was collateral in a feud he didn't own. Alvarez faced questioning next. He denied involvement. Palms flat on the stand. I filed papers. Nothing more. I never saw him that night. But Kent replayed his old words. How he pointed Lena toward the ring toss lane. How his timing clashed with the tape. Suspicion lingered like smoke. The jury couldn't pin him, but doubt stuck. The stain never fully washed. In the end, Hale faced the verdict alone. Kidnapping, murder in the second degree, life without parole. The gavel cracked, sharp as bone. Lena wept silently, shoulders shaking. Kent closed her eyes, exhaling 20 years of weight. Outside, the crowd pressed close. Some cheered justice, others whispered too late. The air trembled with both relief and sorrow. Stonefield High held a vigil that night. Candles lined the football field. The scoreboard glowed Evans number 17 one last time. Parents clutched children. Coaches bowed heads. The town finally spoke his name without fear. Kent walked the bleachers alone afterward. Stadium lights hummed above her. Bright and cold, she whispered into the empty air. We found you, but peace was uneven. Questions lingered about Alvarez, about others who looked away. Silence had been a shield, and silence had killed. The fair returned that fall. Music, rides, lights, but attendance dropped. Gate C stayed locked. Sealed with a chain, Lena placed flowers there each year. A small ritual, private and steady. She never stopped glancing at the lane. Kent retired 5 years later. Her desk was cleared except one folder. Inside, Evan's case, marked closed. Still, some nights she dreamed of the tape, the blurred figure in the jacket walking away, and she wondered if justice ever truly finished. Stonefield changed with time. New roads, new faces, old scars. Yet the story lingered, told in hushed tones. Children asked why candles burned every September. Parents said, because once, a boy didn't come home. That was enough to quiet them. For Lena, life moved forward unevenly. She built family, career, but memory clung. Every fairground smell pulled her back. When she spoke of Evan, her voice softened. He was kind. He wanted churros. He never made it back. Simple truths that needed no embellishment. For the town, closure came with a shadow. They caught the man, but not the years lost. Grief filled spaces justice couldn't touch. The stadium lights still hum at night. Their glow falls across empty bleachers, and in that silence, Stonefield remembers